Greetings from Greyhound Land. I'm Doc Elder, the voice of Eastern New Mexico University Athletics. It's my privilege to be the host of Basketball Media Day. I've got Tres Segler, the head basketball coach for Greyhound Men. And Coach, third year as the head coach. Does it seem possible?
It's gone by fast, Doc. It almost doesn't seem possible, but we're glad we're here. You know, I think, as we've always talked about, I think, you know, we've built something we're proud of. The process is still going, but I'm really excited about what we've got in store, you know, for the conference and for Greyhound Nation, and we couldn't be prouder about who we are.
First year, we don't make the Lone Star Conference. Second year, we do. That's a pretty steep learning curve.
Yes, sir. You know, and all my mentors, you know, my coaching buddies, my family, you know, even my father, you know, they just talked about, you know, how difficult a league this is to come into, and they believed in me, I believed in myself, but, you know, the people that were really in the know, you know, gave me a lot of grace. And at first I didn't want to hear that. You know, I wanted to hear that we were going to come in here and take this thing by storm and take over right away. But again, wisdom, you know, prevails. And now that I'm in year 3, I see what they were talking about. And so much respect of the coaching staffs and the great players in this league. And so, but yes, sir, you know, to make the tournament last year was a huge turnaround and a huge sticking point for our family. And I think as these guys put a lot of hard work in, you know, I think that's a great place to jump off from now.
Coach, it's instructive, I think, to look at the way the season ended in season 1. You had a chance to go to the playoffs, lost a one-point decision at home. Second year, you win the one-point decision on the road.
Yes, sir. You know, and obviously, you know, Texas A&M and Kingsville, both those opponents, you know, Coach Estelle, you know, he's one of the best coaches in any level ever. You know, I have tremendous respect from him. We always joke with each other. You know, last summer, he asked me how my summer was going. I told him not very well. This summer, I asked him how his summer was going. He said not very well. And so we had, you know, some fun back and forth there. But, you know, in all respect to both programs, you know, I think that there were hard-fought games both times. There was no accident that those games came down to the last moment, to the last play. Both programs are built on toughness and defense and tenacity. Both coaches, Coach Estelle and myself, I think that's how we carry ourselves, you know, with intensity, and our guys follow our lead there. And so, but yes, sir, I've learned a lot from him and his program. They've made us better. I hope that we've made them better, and I think that, you know, now the Lone Star truly has become a league from top to bottom that anybody can win on any given night.
Coach, the season ended with you guys losing in the first round of the Lone Star Conference playoffs, but if you had to lose to a team that's going to go to the Final Four, that's not really an embarrassment.
Yes, sir. No, Tom Brown and his staff, Coach Gove over there, I mean, they had West Texas rolling all season. And I've told those guys, you know, in private conversations that not only did they have a talented team, because they definitely had that, but I felt like those two gentlemen, you know, they really got the most out of their guys. Obviously, you know, David Shavlovic did a great job leading that program from a scoring standpoint, but, you know, some guys stepped up. You know, Ryan Quaid did a great job for him. You know, Prim and those guys, Gak, they had some guys that really made that game difficult for us in the first half. Obviously, we got off to a crazy slow start, and we were pretty embarrassed about that, but I was crazy proud of how our guys fought back. I think we scored 55 points in the second half, which I don't know too much about stats, but I think that was probably the most points scored on them that year. And so we leave that game with enough bitter in our mouth to work hard off season, and we have. And these guys have done a great job of keeping that game as a central focus. But, you know, it's bigger than that. Their program did a lot of great things. They represented our league very well, and they have in the past 3 or 4 seasons. And so credit to those guys. Obviously, they're a rival, but, you know, that's what makes the rivalry games great in this league, is that both teams stand up to the challenge. And this year we got to bring a lot more to the table when it comes to that, and we're ready for it. We're excited about it.
Coach, I was just going to ask you, what are the similarities in the two teams that were preceding this year and the team that you've seen this year? What's going to be the big difference between this year and the 2 years that preceded?
That's a great question. I think similarities, it all builds from what we're trying to do. We're trying to be a team that defensively is as tough as any in the country. But, you know, I like to have long, athletic guys that can do multiple things. I think similar, we're that, and this year we've even grown a bunch. We have a lot more size this year on the rim, but even those guys that have size are multi-skill guys. They're not stiff forwards that can't do things. They can shoot, dribble, and pass. You know, the differences, though, with this team, I think, is that, you know, and these guys will tell you here in a second, you know, our leadership as seniors has been great. Maurice Coleman, Arkeem Lalaman, Zach Parker, you know, Nick Brown, and then we bring in Chu Amelia as a senior transfer from Division I, and those guys have really taken hold of the leadership in a way that the past 2 teams, you got some of it, but this team is perfecting it. And part of it's because they've had some time to watch and learn a little bit. And so our strength is coming from our leadership, and I think anytime you have a player-led ball club, you have a chance to be great, and I think that's what we've got going right now. It's a team that likes to come out and work. I'm not having to work every day to get them moving and active. They do that on their own. And I think that speaks of their love to the game and their love of the brotherhood they're building. So obviously some similarities, some differences, but I think when it all comes down to it, Doc, we're really excited about what we've got. And I think everybody is. I think the league is going to be wonderful once again. So many great recruiters and so many great staff. So we're excited.
Speaking of staffs, a little bit of a change for you when it comes to your assistant coach.
Yes, sir. Very blessed. Tyler Wayman, he went back to Rogers State where he came from, got a promotion there to go back to that first assistant spot. They just had a baby added to their family, so we're excited for him. But, I bring in Andre Shaw, a guy who, again, like Tyler was and grew into being family. Andre is family. We did a lot of great things at Midwestern when we were there under Coach Haggerty, and obviously it was hard for Coach Haggerty to lose him. Again, that family bond still is tight between all three of us. And so, but I think what we got in Coach Shaw is a guy that knows what championships look like. Won several of them there as we made our runs at Midwestern. We were all there together as a staff, and so I'm very proud of what Andre's already brought us. But as a recruiter, he stepped in day one, and he was delivering, athletes for us. He went out and found guys across the country that really broadened our horizons. And so he's a bright young guy in this game. I thought Tyler was kind of a head coach in waiting even as a young guy. I think Andre is already to that point. He's a guy that, when my voice isn't being heard, there's still a head coach coaching our basketball team, and I think that makes us dangerous. And so, but very proud of him and what he's been able to do and his family. They just had their first baby. So, a lot of youth, a lot of energy, a lot of crazy nights at home with kids, but, we're figuring it out. We're making it work.
Yeah, I was smiling as you were saying that because I get a slightly larger paycheck for being a professor at Eastern than I do for being a broadcaster. And in 1864, Ulysses S. Grant transferred troops from the Western Theater to Maurice Coleman's home state of Virginia. And the reason he gave was because they were used to winning. And It sounds like you bring in a guy from a winning program, and he's going to bring that.
And again, that's so much respect to Coach Haggerty and what he's been able to do there at Midwestern. His run there and his tenure there at Midwestern is remarkable. It's one of the best in Division II. And so we've been able to take a lot of the things that we built there, adapt them to what we needed here at Eastern New Mexico. And we are our own brand. We're our own thing. And I wanted that to be known when I got here. But, winning is winning, and we talk about it being in our DNA, and that way you don't have to think about it. If you're having to think about winning, you're probably not doing it as much as you want to. Winning needs to occur because of the habits that you have every day, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build championship habits, and I think Andre Shaw is a guy that lives that every day, wakes up every day with that on his mind. And so the mentorship that he's given to our guy, man to man, has been really special too. We're both younger guys, and so I think that helps us connect with this generation of athlete, and we're deeper into their life, into their hearts, into their stories, and I think that makes a difference.
Coach, I think looking at your schedule, I see a subtle but important difference. Your first year and even a little bit last year, there were some games earlier in the season that were like, well, okay, maybe not against tough opponents, maybe build up a little confidence. This year, you want you guys to be battle-tested. You're playing 3 Division I schools this year.
Yes, sir. We're really excited about that. Rodney Terry, who was a mentor to me when I started my career at the University of Texas, is bringing us in to UTEP. I think that's going to be a great deal. It's we get to do the UTEP and the Las Cruces swing with New Mexico State. That's a really cool thing. We're going to get to stay in that area, and it's a good New Mexico thing going on, obviously, with the Texas school too. But very blessed that both those programs are having us. And so it's going to be it's a cool moment for me. Coach Terry did a lot to help me get this job. He was a great mentor and a great friend when I was at the University of Texas. And so I'm excited about that game. And then one of the coolest college basketball, venues in the country, Grand Canyon. You get to go play Thunder Dan and those guys at Grand Canyon. That'll be a game towards the end of our schedule. But I wanted to do it. I want to give these guys a chance to test their mettle against Division I opponents. And we sent several guys overseas at the end of this year. Jamani Pierce, Sean Shelton, and Andre Hughes. And a lot of their highlights that they had in the Arizona game and the New Mexico State game was what these agents overseas like to see. And so I think for these guys marketing themselves to play at the next level, it's a really important addition.
Well, Coach, you were nice enough to bring in 2 of your standout basketball players, and we already mentioned one of them, Maurice Coleman, better known to his friends and associates as Mo. And Mo, you were recruited from community college to come play for Eastern. What was the big selling point that got you here to Eastern?
The biggest selling point was I seen Coach's vision and what he wanted to do here at this school. A lot of other schools are trying to, get me to come there through a lot of materialistic things and what the city can bring. And I just seen Coach's vision and what he was going to do here, and I just followed him and believed in what he had in store for me.
What was the biggest adjustment going from community college basketball to Division II, or was it pretty much of a similar game?
Far as league-wise, I was in a tough league in Division in JUCO. So far as league-wise, I was in a tough league there, and then this year, like Coach said, any team top to bottom can come out with the win. So far as league-wise, I was always in a tough position. But Division II basketball it seems a little bit more faster, and you have to learn the game and slow it down and really think it through, and that's pretty much the biggest change.
Mo, I had the privilege of broadcasting virtually all of your games last year, and one thing that really impressed me was whether you guys were up at 20 or you were down by 20, whether it was a one-point game at the end, your expression hardly ever changed. Is that an act, or are you just that calm?
Nah, I'm just that calm. I've been playing for a long time, so it comes a little natural now, but I try not to show a lot of expression, just play the game through what I show on the court, so that's where that comes from. But it's not an act.
At the beginning of the season, Coach Segler had praised you and said you're really going to like the way that this guy plays defense, and he thought that you could be a lockdown defender. A lot of people may not realize that it was your offense. It was a floating shot that you hit against Kingsville that got us into the playoffs. How did your offense evolve as the season went along?
Offensively, I just found where my scoring spots would be, and I just practiced on those spots a lot. And I just decided to, come in and work a little bit harder and make those shots where my scoring opportunities would be. So that's how that became a lot easier throughout the season.
In the preseason so far, what's been the one thing that's really impressed you about this new team?
The brotherhood that we have so early. I feel like we're coming together fast, and that's like scary when you have a team like this. We all came from different backgrounds, different places, guys cross country. First, as soon as they hit Portales, we all came together with family. You want to go to the library, you want to go get up something to eat, we want to go to the gym. So I think the brotherhood that we have established so far.
Well, Mo, let's turn the microphone over to your counterpart here. And this is Arkeem Lalaman, one of my former students, I'm proud to say. And Arkeem, you're the exception to the rule. Most of the guys on the team were recruited by Coach Segler. You were actually here to begin with.
Sir.
What kept you here at Eastern?
Well, it was kind of a bitter but a great way for it to happen, because my freshman year, the team we did lose to was Midwestern and Coach Segler's program. So
Awkward.
It was kind of funny. Just when he came in, I kind of just glared at him the whole time. And it was crazy because when he came in, the first thing I remember, and it's clear as day, is that he said, "I'm one of you guys." And every other coach, because of course there were other coaches applying for the position, a few of them got to speak to us. They came in saying, well, if I'm one of you guys. He came in with that intensity, like, I am one of you guys. We're family now. This is day one. It's not when it's official. It's not when it's spoken to the public. It's right now. I'm here. I'm with you guys. Where I was is where I was. This is where I'm at now. And that's what kind of made me sit up, because I was slouched. I was looking away like, who is this guy? Who does he think he is? And he said that, and I'm like, okay, this guy might be real. And so when he did, start or become a head coach officially for Eastern, it was kind of iffy on me if I wanted to stay or not, because I felt like my freshman year's team, we were interested in winning, but we weren't committed. And I didn't really want to be around that type of situation again. And he made it clear that we're committed to winning. So once he put that out there and he showed it, and because as soon as he finished speaking to us, he went straight down into what we call the trenches, onto the hardwood, and worked out with us immediately just to give us a little sample. I realized this is where I want to be and this is where I belong.
Arkeem, in what ways is Coach Segler still that same guy? In what ways is he different going into the third year?
I want to say we've grown more, and I think at the beginning I was young. Clearly, I just had finished my freshman year. It wasn't exactly how I wanted it to be. Don't get me wrong. Great team, great group of guys, but I wasn't where I wanted to be mentally. And I feel like he took his time to learn me, and I did so to him. And I learned that he's actually tougher than what I thought, and I also learned that something that he preaches to us is adversity, and he would preach about it. And when when you're 18, 19, adversity is just another word. When you have a few years and you start to understand, like, okay, this is adversity. We have to battle this together. And I realized that he's somebody who's gonna have my back through thick and thin, and he's shown it time and time again. And that's something that I would have never known at the beginning. That's not something he could have told me. He had to show me it, and he did so.
Arkeem, for people that have seen you play, an athletic young man, but quite often you were the tallest guy we put on the court, which meant you had guys that were 4 or 5, even 6 inches taller than you. What sort of mental preparation does it take to go out and take on big guys and know you have to shut down guys that are physically taller than you are?
Well, I'd say that I just have that no fear mentality. I've grown up around plenty of talented guys that outsized me. I do have a friend who plays in the NBA. He's 6'10", Jonathan Isaac. And so guarding him growing up isn't the easiest thing to do. So when it comes down to playing in this league, we still have talented guys that are going to go at me and give their best, but I'm not going to back down either. I've worked too hard, and we've come too far as a program for me to be the soft link or be the soft chain in that link, So I think just the intensity we have and just the way we're built as a program, we know we have to fight every night. And regardless if the person I'm guarding is 5'5" or 7 foot, I'm going to go at you the same way.
Arkeem, I'll ask you a question, and then I'll have the microphone go back to Mo and ask him the same question. If you had to point to one individual in your life that helped make you not just the basketball player you are, but the human being you are, who would you give credit to?
100% my mother. She, from just my character and my understanding of the world and how I want to be as a man, I got everything from her. She was the one who pushed me when I said I wanted to play basketball, but she was also that person that made sure that I grew up as not just a person who plays basketball, but I was a bright young man, hopefully considered to be a bright young man. But
you were one of my
We'll give you that. We'll give you that. You got that. She did a good job.
And so, I mean, I definitely, that's every game that I play, that's someone who I'm like, I hope my mom's watching. I hope she gets to see this. So it's actually emotional because last year she was sick. She was in the hospital, and she didn't get to watch us play that Kingsville game, which it was crazy. And so after the game, the first thing I did was go to my brothers and let them know, like, hey, guys, like, this is what I've been going through. Yeah. And they just embraced me, and they helped me get through that whole situation. And now, thankfully she's recovered, and she's excited. She wants to come see the games, and she hears about the team, and she sees how much closer we've gotten. And I'm just so proud that I can show her, like, for my final go-around, that this is who I'm surrounded by.
Okay, let's get the microphone back to Mo. Mo, how about you? Who's the single person that helped to make you the young man that you are?
I hope my mom don't get mad at me. I'm a mama's boy, but it'd have to be my dad. I learned a lot from him. I'll say I get my character and the way I carry myself from him. He taught me how to be a man. I'm not the man he is yet, but I hope one day become half the man he is. And he showed me to never settle and never give up or never quit. And I believe that has brought me so far, being that I came from multiple schools and being that I've had different situations and different adversity to face, just as like Keem said. And I believe that I get that part from him, and I believe that's what made me who I am today.
Very good. Well, Trace, we'll give you the last word. When will we get to see the Greyhound basketball team in action, non-conference-wise? When's the first time we'll get a chance to see you playing conference basketball?
So I believe our first game we kick off. We're really blessed, man. University of New Mexico does a classic with us there at the pit. We'll have Fort Lewis first on November 9th. New Mexico Highlands, and again, 2 unbelievable programs. Obviously one from Colorado, but obviously one from New Mexico. Two great programs to start the year off. And I think our first home game here is our first conference game. I think it's that Midwestern Cameron swing. I believe it's like November 30th. But just to add, Doc, real quick, man. We brought these 2 guys. I could have said any 2 guys here from our starters and our seniors, the guys that were projected to lead this team in scoring and rebound, to our walk-ons. I'm crazy proud of what this team is becoming, and I think these guys, from what they said, it's so heartfelt. and I'm proud of them for that. You know, Zach Parker, Nick Brown, Chua Mealy, again, those guys are guys that we're really going to lean heavily on this year to make sure as senior leaders that we're doing the right things and that we're competing at the top of this league. And so I want to thank you, Doc, for what you do and who you are for us. You bring the best out of us, man, and we appreciate you for that.
Well, Coach, I always point out that the reason I won a award as Sportscaster of the Year in New Mexico was doing your game against New Mexico State.
We
so
love it. Yep.
I vouch for the quality of your basketball. I can't wait. And Coach, it's been a pleasure. Wish you the best of luck. Mo, our team, thanks for being our guest.
Thank you.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up the look at Greyhound basketball on this media day. So as I usually sign off, I'll say this is Doc Elder saying, so long.